What's up, guys? Record Reezy back to another My Hero Academia manga chapter review, and this time we got chapter 304. And I know it's been a while, guys, but your boy got caught up in a lot of stuff in IRL. But we're back and we're ready to talk My Hero. But before we get into this video, if you haven't already, be sure to check out MHA Fight Club Best Jeanist versus EdgeShot. Link will be in the description box below. But without further ado, let's get right into this amazing chapter. Alright, so this chapter opens up pretty much where we left off last week. Deku is still in a coma with All Might by his side, but all the Vestiges are having a meeting in the Vestige world, and they're in some sort of like throne room. It looks like all the Vestiges have these chairs, and the aesthetic is just awesome. But the two Vestiges that we saw before that were blurred out are facing the wall. Horikoshi at this point is going out of his way to keep their identities a secret. And I know a lot of people in the community have speculated that one of the Vestiges kind of resembles Bakugo from what we've seen, and the other one resembles Kirishima. But personally, I hope it's not them. And I get it, like Horikoshi is really going out of his way to hide their identities at this point, and they kind of do look like them. But God, I would just not like that. But I trust Horikoshi and his writing, but sincerely, I hope it's not the case. But the first user notes that the last 4 months, One for All has grown exponentially to the point where the Vestiges can communicate with each other within One for All. And that's pretty crazy. Like, the Vestiges have been in there talking with each other, comparing notes, and really just going over the nature of the quirk itself amongst themselves. And that's pretty awesome. That One for All is starting to expand to the point where one, they can communicate amongst themselves independent of Deku. Two, they're able to talk to Deku for a lot longer now, and Deku can go to them for counsel in the future, I would presume. Oddly enough, all of this changes thanks to All for One when he tried to steal One for All at toward the end of the war arc with Shigaraki's body. And this is very interesting because, like I said, like Deku is gonna be able to really chop it up with them in the future, like sit down, maybe like meditate on some Avatar Aang shit. By the way, I have a theory video on that coming up in the not so distant future, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But that is very, very interesting. So think about it, like if Deku in the future is able to talk to the Vestiges at will, if maybe he just needs to meditate or sleep or something along those lines, he could really get helpful tips and pointers on how to use the various quirks that he has from the people who had them prior. So that would add like a complete another dimension to Deku's tactics, abilities, because he would be getting tips and training from the source, the people whose quirks there were originally. And that to me has infinite possibilities for a character like Deku, who's always learning, who's always studying heroes, always a student of the game. So that could really take Deku to a complete another level. Like, we know Deku, by the nature of One for All, is going to be stronger than All Might. Plus all these other quirks he has on top of it, Deku is going to be a complete monster. Then we start getting a little bit of information on the fourth One for All user. But before we get into that, Deku's mouth is starting to form. So he's almost able to speak, which will mean a lot. Deku being able to ask each user like direct questions and get information from them, that has so many ramifications, and I'm just looking forward to hearing Deku ask questions, because Deku by nature is a very inquisitive character, and I love that about him. And these One for All users, like, they have so much lore that we can just tap into, so much information, so much everything. Like, I'm so excited to just learn more and more and more and more about these characters. But we learned that the fourth user held One for All for 18 years, the second longest after All Might. The fourth user evaded All for One for those years, just nurturing the quirk One for All, so that someone, a successor down the line, could finally be able to beat All for One. In the final year of the fourth user's life, the quirk itself broke his body. So he activated One for All, and it just broke his body at that point. And that to me is madness. It's kind of like at the beginning of the series when Deku just like before All Might had actually given the quirk one for all to Deku, and he kind of imagined himself blowing up from using it. That's probably something similar to what happened. Crushed his body on activation, most likely. The fourth user died of old age because of it burned, because One for All burned through his life force, and that is madness. So we learned that One for All, that if you have a quirk, it's too much for your body. So the people that already had quirks and then got One for All, after a certain point, it just started eating away at them, and it was too much for their body to handle. And the fourth user, at first, he didn't know what was going on. He just thought maybe he had like a weak constitution, or at worst, chronic illness or something along those lines. But then after watching All Might for all those years, they realized that All Might was a completely different scenario than everybody else who had One for All prior, because here's the kicker: All Might was quirkless. So One for All had way more room to just flourish within All Might, and it kind of took precedence as his true quirk at that time. And so the first user even says, like, oddly enough, the people who have the least to offer, which are quirkless people in their society, have the most potential when it comes to One for All. So now a guy like Deku, who's also quirkless, I guess this really does put like a fork in the whole Mirio, and Bakugo would be a better successor than Deku. I mean, that's still debatable, I guess, but Deku has far more potential now, confirmed. That Deku to the full extent, because the kid doesn't have a quirk. So all this power is just free to grow and flourish within Deku. And that could be part of the reason why One for All, is starting to expand so rapidly, because it's past the point of singularity. So it's really taking a root inside Izuku Midoriya, and he's manifesting all these other quirks in a way that even All Might didn't. So because this is sort of like the second generation of quirkless inheritors, so now One for All is really starting to kick into another gear. And this is huge, because like Deku, by definition, being the second quirkless user right after a previous quirkless user, has just like the sky's the limit right now. His 100% in the future is going to be pure madness. Like the extent of Deku's power is gonna be like unfathomable by MHA power scale standards, because like there will not be another character outside of Shigaraki who has body modifications to quirk all for one, who is going to be able to rival Izuku Midoriya. But that itself is one thing, but the first user also goes on to say it cannot just be given to a random person. It has to be given to another quirkless person. But those people in this current society are a rarity, because each generation quirks are starting to expand, grow, and those quirkless people are becoming fewer and fewer and fewer. So by all intents and purposes, Deku might actually be the last successor of One for All. And then the chapter ends with Nana Shimura asking Deku, "Will you kill Shigaraki Tomura for me?" And that just like blew my mind. Not because I'm surprised, but I don't know for what reason, I just didn't expect Nana to be like, "Yo, I need you to off my grandson for me, because I can't do it myself." Granted, I understand Shigaraki is way out there past the point of saving, and he's being manipulated by All for One, her arch nemesis. Ultimately, just even though she's dead, like she can't get rest, because All for One is just pissing all over her lineage as we speak. But damn, like I am so ready just to hear Deku's answer to this. Like, is Deku just gonna be like, fuck yeah, I got you, I'm gonna smoke this guy? But let's be real, Deku's not gonna say that. I just hope Deku isn't like, we know Deku wants to save Shigaraki, because that's just who Deku is, the ultimate hero who's ready and willing to save anybody. But what I don't want to happen is talk no jutsu. I don't want them to be like, oh my god, friendship bonds. No, Shigaraki has done far too much for that to ever happen. That ship has sailed millennia ago. But I'm ready for next week, guys. I'm hype. I got videos coming out. We're back. But that's gonna do it for this chapter review, guys. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter in the comment section below. As always, I've been Reezy. You guys just got wrecked. And I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.